Good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to this session on roots of resilience. So the ECD imperative in a climate-changing world. We have a very full panel today. We've got 45 minutes to get through it. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time by introducing myself and talking about the subject. My name is Jim Emerson. I'm working with the Power of Nutrition, and I've been asked to moderate this session for today. Quickly, I'll introduce the panel here. Sitting next to me is Dr. Mariam. She's the, Emily Gogra. She's the Deputy Minister of, from Sierra Leone. We have Dr. Erum from BRAC. She is the Director of the BRAC Institute of Education, which is under the BRAC University. Then we have Geneviève Nunez-Kebe, who is a Senior Policy Advisor for Education from the International Rescue Committee. And Dr. Kim Foles, the Vice President of Content Research and Evaluation at the Sesame Workshop. And at the far end there, we've got Leone, the Executive Director of the International Step-by-Step Association, and Sulieman, the Education Program Director at ANERA. This session is divided into three, so we've got three pairs who will be talking on issues here. The first pair will be talking about local strategies and grassroots efforts. And then the middle pair will be talking about innovative media and approaches to ECD. And finally, we'll focus on ECD in conflict zones. I think we all recognize the importance of ECD, and it's interesting that we're now going to look at well, 3 different perspectives from 6 speakers on ECD and its importance in the lives of children. So please, Emily. It's working.
Okay, it's working. Thank you, Jim. You see, you are a moderator and you should moderate. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Sierra Leone. I am grateful to be here, especially under the leadership of BRAC, who has been so instrumental for early childhood education in Sierra Leone. In our country, Sierra Leone, we believe and support early childhood, the agenda for early childhood education, and especially for matters like this that talk about the limitation of climate change on our children and their lives, especially as they grow in their lives. Early childhood in programs in our country are so effective, supported by the government and partners, especially BRAC and UNICEF. We have a lot of fundamental strategies that we use to support and limit climate change. The first one is teaching in our own local environment. It is teaching about good habits. The first aspect in teaching about good habits is very important about water. In our own local communities, water is very scarce. Children move far away, like a 1-mile distance or about 2-mile distance to fetch water. So we teach them about the importance. We teach them how to differentiate between clean and dirty water, that is pure and impure water. We teach them the local distillation processes, and we also teach them how to preserve water. Moving on, we also teach them how to manage their garbage, not to burn and to litter around. We teach them not to fell trees. We teach them also how to grow plants and plant trees, because it is very important to preserve the ecosystem. Furthermore, we also have in our local classrooms the weather charts. This depicts the climatic conditions in our own country, Sierra Leone. When we move on, We know that it is very, very important, and we teach the children to recognize that climate change affects everyone. And when it affects everyone, it does not choose the age, the color, it does not choose the status. So we teach them the causes, the effects, and also the preventive measures, and also how to manage climate change when there is a crisis. We are so grateful to BRAC for all these activities, because BRAC has played a fundamental role, especially in the rural areas, wherein you have teachers that do not have the capability to teach the children. They teach them the play-based methodology. They also help them to build up resilience so that they will know how to handle crisis. Then, of course, they teach them the play-based methodology in different forms, and also improve in infrastructure and making of materials from the community. And they work with the communities, because when you work with the communities, you attain the sustainability. And with this sustainability, that helps each and every one of us to grow, the parents, the children, and the stakeholders. And I want to end up saying, we need more improvements, and we need organizations to support BRAC in this process in our country, Sierra Leone. They cannot do it alone, because there are a lot of activities like water, like the ecosystem, like the training of teachers. In a nutshell, we need education and awareness. We need capacity building for both our teachers and our communities, and we need to build up resilience. I want to stop here and to say we look forward to you visiting Sierra Leone to see the work of BRAC, and also to see what the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education is doing. We have passion for our children, and it is now that we have to catch them young, because it is very, very important. When we teach them about climate change, then in the future, they will make the world a better place. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Honourable Emily, and thanks for keeping to time. You did an excellent job. So she set a standard for the rest of the panel here, so as we can get through this session on time. You mentioned BRAC as one of your key partners in your play lab, so I'll hand over you now to you, Erum, to talk a little bit about BRAC and your play labs and your collaboration with the Ministry of Education in Sierra Leone.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Jim, and thank you to the workers. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll speak about the play labs from Philippines, Sierra Leone, Bangladesh. But what it is that the play labs we did about 10 years ago, and these play labs were based on early childhood development, on play, on children's mental health, culture, and environment conservation. And then we worked much more on environment conservation and climate change. And this is the story that I will tell today. So the play labs are for children 3 to 5. What you see is children caring for some plants in the, in the play lab, and they are, and so the next one that you see is a child with the mother planting a tree, and this is also in the play lab. And then we have 2 children who are working on watering the plants, and this is also a green space that they have created in the play lab. The next one is 2 children from Cox's Bazar, the refugee community, where they have planted, they have planted seeds, and they have planted these greens in recycled oil containers, and they look very happy and proud about it. This is from the Philippines, and the children here, they are not only planting, but they are also deciding where to plant. And finally, for Emily, this is for you. This is from Sierra Leone, where children have given it a shape. So what have I just told you? I have told you about how children are learning from their parents about the knowledge and practice, I have told you that children develop deep empathy and care for the plants and greens. And I have told you how children, they get the greens into the play labs or the humanitarian play labs, and they put it in either recycled plastic bottles or bamboo containers, and they create their own green space. Now, you might ask that how did we think of this? The honest answer is we didn't think of this. The honest answer is it was 4- and 5-year-olds who thought of this. And we only requested the 4- and 5-year-olds that whether they can create a green space in the play labs. And they started working on it. So we went around and we observed the children, and we collected their narratives. And this is what we learned. We learned, one, that children have a lot of conversations with their parents, with their mothers and fathers about the knowledge and practices of fruit trees, of flowering trees, of vegetables, of animals. The second thing we learned is children love talking about animals and birds and fish. And they care so deeply about it. The third thing we learned is children want to create the space in the play lab, whether it is in one tiny container or whether it is a horizontal or whether it's a creeper. Children are interested to create this space. But what did we actually learn? What we actually learned is that this climate change solution should be led by children. That is what we learned. And so we heard them, we listened to them, we saw them, we understood their expressions. And that is how we learned that the climate change must involve children, because they have been forgotten for many years. And so at the end, I want to say, this is the story of resilience, but this is the story of hope, which is coming from the global south. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Erum. Clearly, we've seen an example here of an excellent collaboration, which is actually, it sounds like it's 3 ways between the Ministry of Education, between BRAC, and with the children of Sierra Leone. So congratulations. We're now going to turn to a different collaboration, and this is a collaboration between Sesame Workshop and the International Rescue Committee for a project that's called, let me get it here, Ahlan Sim Sim. And we've got a video to start this off. So Ahlan Sim Sim is the largest ECD intervention in humanitarian situations in the world. And I don't know if the video is teed up. We'd like to start with the video. Yep.
أنا صار لي تقريباً من وقت من 2012 جينا من بيتنا بسوريا تدمر يعني، وجينا من الحرب، جينا لهون من 2012 وعايش بنفس الخيمة تقريباً. عندي 4 أولاد، يعني شيء يعني المأساة اللي عشناها احنا ما حبيت أتذكرها يعني بلاس. إذا الولد من هلا بيشيل هم هيك معناته ما له مستقبل يعني.
الطفولة هي كل شيء، يعني هي مرحلة مستقبل الطفل، هون هو الأساس. يعني مش بس إنه أنا بدي أجي وبدك تتعلم هول الأحرف والأرقام وخلص بنفل على البيت.
إيه صاروا سنتين بيروحوا على مركز أهل السمسم يعني. في أنا ابني هذا وطن يمكن قلت لك كان نفسيته تعبانة كتير يعني، كان مرات يصير نفسية ما بعرف إنه فزع وما فزع ولا شيء. عم يرتاح نفسيا يعني قلت لك من هالشيء يعني لانه بيجي بيروح لهنيك لبرا بيرتاح اكثر بيجي بيروح على المركز تبعنا على السمسم.
يعني الدعم النفسي كتير مهم بهذه المرحلة. عم نحاول دايما نوفر بيئة آمنة لإله. هذا البرنامج هو موجود بحياتهم دايما متكامل بين المدرسة وبين البيت.
أولادي أهم شيء إنه أول شيء العلم. يعني أنا عشت بظروف صعبة يعني. أنا كثير بحب ألعب بالطابة. أدور إنه حياة أفضل لهم.
What a brilliant video. I'm always amazed at how real those puppets look, and they're almost human. Genevieve, can you tell us a little bit about this partnership and why you started to work with, why you, IRC and Sesame Workshop started to work on this?
Thank you, Jim. Hi, everyone. As you have seen in this video, this project, Ahlam Sinson, which means in Arabic, welcome Sesame, is probably, it came from the project that our friend from Sesame Workshop developed, Sesame Street, which is a TV program. And what we have done is that we use the expertise of IRC combined with the expertise of Sesame Street. So that's, I think that was Sesame Workshop, sorry, that was what made it so successful, because IRC, for those who don't know us, the International Rescue Committee helps people who are affected by countries to survive, recover, and regain control of their lives. So that's what we have done in the Middle East, as you have seen in the video in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. We have worked with Sesame Workshop to develop this program based on the needs of the children, because we have noticed that most of the children who are affected by conflict have issues with how to manage their emotions. So it was not about just giving them the foundational learning, but how to support them on the psychosocial support area, but also social emotional learning. And we worked in these 4 countries with 80 local partners, so government, civil society organizations, and media broadcasting company to develop this program. And the beauty of it was that we have developed, while we were doing parenting, responsive caregiving system, we were also supporting children with playful learning. So it wasn't a matter of, children have to go just to have their foundational learning, but they were also supported. So what we've done is that we worked with community centers, health centers, schools, and what we've done also is that our geo partners from Sesame Workshop really contextualize the content. So it was not just a copy-paste from what Sesame Street was, but it was an adaptation based on the needs of the children. And so even when Mohammed was saying, that he can see that his child were benefited from this program, most of the parents were saying that they were in a hurry to go back to home to do the exercise with their kids, because our teams on the ground and our local partner were helping them to have the necessary support on how to teach their children at home. So parents were discovering a new way of supporting their children on an emotional way, but also on the foundational learning way. And that's what make it work. And that's thanks to the partner that we have, like MacArthur Foundation and Lego Foundation, who allowed us to have an adaptive management program, because that's the thing, is that when we have a program, we should have a partner that help us with flexibility, adaptability, because the way we deliver the program on the ground was really based on flexibility and the possibility to change things. So we use WhatsApp, we use telephone to talk to the parents, SMS. So they felt supported, and that's what make it work. So it wasn't just a program that we dumped on them, but we were here throughout the process. And the show, Sesame Street, help us to be able to reach like 2 million children through direct services and 27 million children through TV, which was amazing. And that's why we were saying that it's the largest early childhood intervention in the humanitarian response world, because that was, amazing. And this is something that we want to replicate and to work with other partners to develop that. So we count on you to join us in this project. We are still thinking of expanding it in other parts of the world and adapting it to other contexts. Thank you.
Thank you, Genevieve. You're all exceptionally good at keeping time here. This is this a first for for today's sessions? Dr. Kim, you've been doing some research, a series of research studies. Can you share with us a little bit some of the learnings that you have got from those research studies, and particularly some of the implications in relation to the future crises?
Yes, thanks, Jim, and thank you, Genevieve, and good afternoon, everyone. As the video showed, we really wanted to invest in research to better understand the impacts of this programming, the potential power for media and media integrated direct services delivered by our partner IRC. And so through our partnership with New York University, we were able to generate a really excellent body of evaluation work. And so we've been able to demonstrate the impact of a remote early learning program in Lebanon, as well as an impact of the Ahlan Simsim TV show. For the TV show, we've been able to demonstrate, in partnership with the Ministry of Education in Jordan, integrated into Jordanian government kindergartens, that watching the show has helped support children's ability to name emotions and then regulate those emotions as well, which we know are critical to mitigation of adverse experiences. In Lebanon, through delivery of an 11-week remote early learning program implemented by IRC, integrated with educational media assets from Ahlan Simsim, we saw effects comparable to a year of in-person preschool in literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional learning in just 11 weeks. And that's really through leveraging the power of parents, as has been highlighted by my fellow panelists. And we think that there's great potential there in future crises, which unfortunately we know there will be, and certainly climate crises where formal education is not available to young children. Media is able to reach them through WhatsApp, through YouTube, in the midst of disruption. It's not a replacement, certainly, for formal education, but it's an ability to continue those critical services that are so foundational for young children's brain development.
Could we look forward to the future and what's going to happen after this crisis, and in particular how the lessons learned from this particular intervention might be relevant for the climate crisis that we're facing?
Yeah, we do think that there is really great potential to be able to continue to partner with organizations who are supporting young children on the move, or who are affected by crisis and displacement due to climate emergencies. And so we are really excited is not the right word, but we do see that there's great potential to leverage the model of Ahlan Simsim to continue to expand it globally, because I think we all realize that climate crises are affecting all of us directly, personally, right? A year ago, it felt maybe there was an arm's length distance, but no, they're affecting all of us immediately. And so we do think that there is really great potential to explore the model that we've created to making sure that children are still getting those critical resources as part of their early childhood development.
Thank you. Genevieve, any plans from the side of the International Rescue Committee in relation to developing this concept and this partnership further?
Yeah, I think the project is going to an end, and we are looking at, as I was saying, scaling up. And what the recent climate event showed us is that we can continue the learning even when schools are closed. And so that's what we have seen with the recent earthquake in Syria, in northwest Syria, in Turkey. We managed to continue the learning while the school were closed, and that was the exact thing that we are seeing in Iraq with the rise of the temperature. So every year we have new climate crises. So we need to be putting in place anticipatory approach, and that's what we are looking at with IRC. We have just been awarded a 3 million program by the UK government to set up anticipatory actions that would help us not only mitigate the impact of the crisis, but how can we set up response plan in advance with the communities, the teachers, the parents, to work together so that when a crisis occurs, they know exactly what to do. Like what is the system that we will put in place to ensure continuity of learning. And moving forward, I think we need to think about first, how do we line up humanitarian finance with climate finance so that we have more money to invest in ECD moving forward? How do we put in place ECD policies that would be climately sensitive and effective so that children not only learn foundational learning, but have the support, the social emotional support that they need to mitigate the impact of the crisis, because by 2050, we'll have more and more, every children will be affected by the crisis. So it means that 2 billion children will be affected by climate crisis. So what do we do about that? We shouldn't be waiting for the crisis to come. We should have a plan in place. And so I invite those who are interested to join us in this thinking about anticipatory action, and so that we can put in place disaster risk response system, build resilience of the children, but also have strong system that would allow continuity of learning for the children who need it most. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on now and continue in crisis situations. Leone works for the ECD network for Europe and Central Asia, working on inclusive, high-quality systems and services for families and young children, particularly in situations of adversity. And they've been going for 30 years. And they support children's care, development, and learning whenever a crisis hits. So, Leone, tell us about your network and the approaches you've used to build your resilience in emergencies.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here and part of this collective effort for our children, for our planet. I will share some insights from the work of ESA and to illustrate how our network can create long-lasting change. And I know I'm preaching to the converted, but I want to make the case that such a challenge, such a complex issue, multi-sectoral issue like early learning, early care and development, like climate change, can only be tackled through a network approach. These are issues that one can say belong to everybody and concern nobody. No one organization can do this, so we need partnerships, we need a network. What do we see in reality? We see that early childhood development and care, funding for this tends to be scarce and fragmented. We also see that response plans focus primarily on immediate needs, and they neglect development, learning, well-being of young children and their caregivers. Unfortunately, we also see that local actors are often not sufficiently supported, including financially, or their capacity is not sufficiently recognized. And funding doesn't allow for programming to be sustained and to use multi-sectoral integrated approaches. And these are the kinds of challenges that we try to address from day one when the war in Ukraine started. As the moderator kindly said, we build on 30 years of experience, and with such a large network in all the countries affected by the war, we were able to metaphorically activate the muscle for collaboration and for exchange, for learning. Our members on the ground immediately took stock, and within a week from the start of the war, we were able to put together a plan of action, a framework for action that we are still using. So what does it mean actually to work as a network? So there is the infrastructure to connect the members for collaboration and so on, but more importantly, there is the community of members, of those who are in the network that are connected by a shared purpose. So one of our first action was actually to strengthen the capacity of practitioners so that they can support the children coming out of highly traumatic situations. We did not reinvent the wheel. We collected existing resources, we added some practical tools to them, and very quickly we put together a resource package that we call Foundational Training on Psychological First Aid and Trauma-Informed Practices. Now, in a few months, this package was translated in 8 languages, and so far we have trained 200 master trainers that work in 20 countries all over Europe, including with refugee children. They are rolling the trainings out with ministries, with local partners, and the feedback we hear is that practitioners appreciate the package for the practical tools, but also for the emphasis on diversity and empathy, just like other speakers mentioned. And what was really new for them was the emphasis on self-care and tips for personal and team well-being and mental health. We also empower our members to work to support local governments, because this is where children and families live. Local governments to develop a strategic response. We use a methodology called PrimoKIS, and right now our members work with 45 cities in 5 countries, including Ukraine, to develop early childhood strategies that are intersectoral, comprehensive, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of communities. Part of these strategies are play hubs, especially in countries hosting refugees, where Ukrainian mothers are trained and supported to work as facilitators. We also work to ensure inclusion, diversity, and equity in policies and practices. And you can imagine that in countries where there is a large Russian ethnic minority, animosity spreads really fast. But also, and there is the tension where Roma have fled Ukraine and arrive in other communities. There is more broadly tension between the receiving population and refugees. So in this context, we work to transform earlier settings into welcoming, inclusive spaces, to nurture a sense of belonging, and also to address prejudice and discrimination. Just 2 more ideas. We focused a lot from the start of the war, we focused on reconstruction efforts in Ukraine. We have members in Ukraine, and some of them work with children with disabilities. Another one runs Place Hub. One more supports teacher trainers and learning communities all across Ukraine. And they work hard to reestablish early learning services that have been looted or damaged by shelling. I will share with you an inspiring example, a local Roma-led small community organization in Western Ukraine. From the start of the war, have supported thousands of displaced persons that came through in order to flee to other countries. And since then, with our support and with partners and funders, they've been renting a large space to equip as a shelter. And just this week, we have supported them to purchase that large space. And they have dreams and the concept in place to turn this into a community center when peace is restored. And this is the kind of power that local organizations have if we channel the support to them. But sadly, as we know, this doesn't happen always. And I will end by summarizing that hopefully I can persuade you that using the expertise, capacity, and operational structures that exist in networks is a very fast way for creating change. We can map gaps, priorities, create channels for collaboration, and strengthen resilience at all levels: children, families, local respondents, and also the entire ecosystem. It takes a village to raise a child, and in times of war and crisis, climate crisis, that village is destroyed, and the network can establish that kind of support. And we build not just resilience, but hopefully we build peace and sustainability.
Thank you. Thanks, Liana. Can you pass the microphone to Sulieman? Sulieman, you're working with on early childhood development in Palestine. In what ways have you taken environmental issues into consideration when you developed your ECD programs?
Great. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everyone. And it's great to be here. My short presentation is centers around three things. Firstly, I'd like to thank Dubai Cares for supporting 20 to 25% of our ECD work in Palestine and for bringing us together. I'm going to thank them again at the end for one specific reason, also another specific reason. So thank you, Dubai Cares, for bringing us together. Secondly, our work. I spent most of my life in London, and I returned, and I have Sean Carroll, our chief executive here. I want to thank him for giving us the opportunity to really make a difference to children's lives in Palestine. We developed quite a comprehensive program based on the work of the consultative group. Jim, I don't know whether you were ever part of that, the International Consultative Group on ECD. It disappears. You know it, you've funded it, Bernard van Leer funded it 20 years ago. But there's been a fantastic discourse around ECD and the importance of ECD. And our program learned from that in Palestine. Our strategy is fourfold. We knew that we needed to increase the access, so we immediately began developing guidelines on children's spaces, early learning environments. We put together national standards. We renovated 15% and equipped 15% of Palestine's kindergartens. And that's a lot for a small to medium-sized NGO, but we did that. We also were aware that there were only 2 governmental kindergartens. And if you're going to bring about whole sector change, you really need to strengthen the capacity of governments. And on a number of occasions, in fact, with 4 ministers, I would take presentations by colleagues, Isa and others, to various ministers to push for investment. 10 years ago, governmental public investment, and I know that governments often see it the domain of the private sector to ensure universal coverage, but they have a specific role to play, and including, the development of national curriculum, the mainstreaming of gender in ECD, the mainstreaming of inclusion, and climate change. And I'll talk in my third point about why there have been so many shortcomings in the 2 decades I've been in this sector. So we've done the most fabulous kindergartens. We use local artisans. We've built 23 kindergartens in the past 5 years. Remember, the government had 2. They have 30 now. We built 23 of those so that they are become centers of excellence and so that learning can take place in the private sector and other sectors. So we've done that. We've trained 1 out of 7 teachers in Palestine. We've developed a teacher's guide. We've mainstreamed. So in terms of the environment and climate change, we've integrated in our design, fantastic spaces where children can grow gardens, where we are integrating, solar panels. In fact, we'll talk about the third point. We'll talk about Gaza and how our integrated approach has helped communities in crisis. So we think about renewable energy. We're thinking about clean, safe water for children to take. So we have a community, a school community, and we're building our projects around those school communities. So we've built and renovated fantastic kindergartens. We've trained brilliant teachers to work interactively with children and parents, and where they're able to make the environment real. Our curriculum focuses around the seasons. So children are able to pick olives, to grow a garden, to understand, to get them much more, to sensitize them to the environment and the world they live in. So, number 3, we've worked with the community, parents. We've supported thousands, we've supported about 15,000 caregivers, sadly mostly women, mums, but we've worked with women because we know that they're the first teachers, and the first 1,000 days in any person's life is the most important period in any person's life. So we've worked with parents. We've worked in providing psychosocial support in areas such as Gaza. We've integrated our approach in terms of health and nutrition. So we've done that. But by far the biggest achievements, I think, is working with government, because they are the decision makers. And I've personally gone in on numerous occasions to ministers of education to say it's not good enough that you're not providing public expenditure in this sector. You have to do this. So we developed the early childhood framework in Palestine, the national strategy, and the teacher's manual and guide. And through all of that, climate and the environmental factors have been included in our resources and teaching. So that's how we've done it. But I do want to talk about two elephants in the room. And often people say there is one elephant in the room. Often I think there are more than one elephant in the room, sadly. So the first elephant, I've been in this sector for 30 years, 20 of which has been spent primarily focusing on early childhood development. Why is it that ECD was the first education for all goal, and no one remembers those? Yet there are millions of children who are missing out on quality care, education, health, protection. Why is it? We've known about the importance of ECD from Shonkoff, about how it affects brain development. We know Heckman tells us that for every $1 you spend in preschool education on early years, society gets 17 back. It's even more important now because of the environmental disasters that we're facing literally every day. If you invest in the youngest in society, you're likely to get more productive adults, but also adults who are alert to the society and the factors that govern their lives. We have to start early, and that's why ECD is really important. And I want to finish off with the other elephant in the room. Children are subjected to violence. There's a brilliant woman called Professor Sarah Roy, American professor, who spoke about the de-development of Gaza 30 years ago. There's been a purposeful policy to de-develop Gaza. And Gaza has been targeted over the past 2 months, but for many more years. And we know how toxic stress can impact on the lives of children beyond the early years, right into their adult life, and how it can actually impact on other generations. You know, the sad thing, and I want us to remember the 7,000 plus children who've been slaughtered and murdered over the past couple of years. Their early childhood has been, destroyed, but the lives of so many other children in Gaza have been destroyed through the toxic stress that they've been experiencing, not just for the past 2 months, but for many decades. And what the biggest and the saddest thing, many societies in the South are brilliant at providing protective factors to care for their children. And the sad thing in Gaza is that children are experiencing toxic stress, but also the protective factors are no longer there. The community cannot, and the mothers and fathers cannot cater for their health, nutrition, educational needs. And that is something. And that's why ECD is paramount. And I want to thank Dubai Cares for bringing us together, because we need more fora like this, because ECD is by far the most important development goal globally. Thank you.
Thanks, Sulieman, and thanks to the whole panel. We've run out of time. It's up there on the screen in front of us, so there isn't much time for a wrap-up. And thanks to all of you who did keep the time, so we were able to not be too far over the time limit. Just maybe in wrapping up, I just want to, there's a theme that goes through all of what you have said, and that is partnership, collaboration, working together has come out through everything. All the examples that you have shared have been about partnerships of some form or another. So I think that's a key lesson to learn there. The other is a very, very clear focus on the child and the child in the community and that local level, and understanding the unique situations that children find themselves in and adapting our programs to real settings. So I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you all very much for your attention and for joining us for this session. Thank you.